Cricket Ground. Round 2 of the Winfield State of Origin Series. Queensland versus New South Wales.
And throughout Queensland, we welcome you to the return clash of the State of Origin between Queensland and New South Wales from the Sydney Cricket Ground. The first Winfield State of Origin match won by New South Wales by 22 points to 16. It's a cool night here in Sydney and a capacity crowd close to 40,000 at the Sydney Cricket Ground for the second in the series. Bad news for Queensland today. Second rower Brian Niebling pulled out. He has a stomach upset, and Bob Lindner will come into the starting lineup at lock with Ian French into the second row, and Brad Tessman is the new reserve. John Barber, Queensland had a battle before the game. How big a difference is it now with Brian Niebling out?
Going to make a huge difference, John, with Brian Niebling out. We were always going to do it tough in this match, and with Niebling and Dowling gone, we've lost our hard-hitting workforces in defence, and that's our main problem area.
Well, what Queensland are missing in firepower and defence, they'll have to make up for in determination. And we'll be back for the start of the Winfield State of Origin number 2 from the Sydney Cricket Ground after this break.
Tackle high prices.
Viewer Scotch Whisky drop kick.
Here in the city of Sydney at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Floodlit for the State of Origin clash between Queensland and New South Wales. And what a difference it is to the old days. Only about 6 years ago, when you'd probably be lucky to get a crowd of 2,000 to see Queensland and New South Wales, but under the State of Origin concept, certainly the New South Wales public have warmed to the football that's been played, and why wouldn't they? And as they have seen Queensland win the first few State of Origin games, it gave them the incentive to start following New South Wales. And the cheers go up as Wayne Pearce leads the Blues onto the field. New South Wales, if they can win tonight, will wrap up the series for the second year in a row. And a very important series it is this year, the Winfield State of Origin, because it'll be the main pointer to a kangaroo tour, the prize that any player dreams of in the rugby league world. And the Kangaroos go to Great Britain and France at the end of this year. Just a reminder that tonight in the Telegraph, the special State of Origin lift-out, and in that special State of Origin lift-out in tonight's Brisbane Telegraph, you have the chance to enter a competition that could win you a fantastic prize of a trip to watch the Kangaroos in action in the UK in November. The prize is worth $3,575. Now, the competition asks you to name the time to the nearest minute that the last try is scored in tonight's State of Origin match. So keep watching right to the end. Put down the minute that the last try is scored. Get your entry in tonight's Telegraph, and you could be going to watch the Kangaroos in Great Britain at the end of this year. It's a great prize indeed. Peter Sterling, the New South Wales halfback who's desperate to win back his Australian jumper. Last year, of course, Mark Murray and Des Hasler were the Australian halves in the Test series against New Zealand, but Peter Sterling is desperate to win it back. He had a great game in Brisbane, and he'll be out to repeat the dose tonight. Queensland have won the toss. Wally Lewis slipping as he makes his way out of the dressing room. Probably not a good sign for Queensland. And the Blues supporters here in Sydney giving the Queenslanders the sort of reception that the Lang Park crowds have made famous for New South Wales over many years. Queensland have won the toss. They'll be defending the Randwick end. That's the southern end of the Sydney Cricket Ground. New South Wales to kick off. They're to run from the Paddington end. That's the northern end. Very little breeze, but a cool night. Temperature probably somewhere around 15, 16 degrees. And a great crowd here at the Sydney Cricket Ground, and John Barber, a tremendous atmosphere. There's the Queensland side with the late change. Bob Lindner coming into the team, and Brian Niebling, of course, dropping out today. He had a stomach virus, and into the reserves comes Brad Tessman.
Yeah, it's still a good-looking Queensland Rugby League side, Macca, and we're in with a great show. Unfortunately, it goes against McGrain to say, but I honestly don't think we can win the match, but we certainly won't go down without a great fight.
The New South Wales side, one change to their victorious team in Brisbane. Brian Hetherington from Illawarra comes in on the wing to replace the injured Steve Morris. That's the only change for New South Wales. Brian Hetherington for Steve Morris, and there's the referee from Mackay in North Queensland, Barry Gomersall. So New South Wales to kick off a game that Queensland must win tonight if they're to win the series, and they've done it before. They've come from 1-0 down to win the State of Origin series, but the pressure is really on them tonight.
Yeah, there's so much at stake tonight, John. Not only the State of Origin, they're fighting out a huge battle tonight for test match positions against the New Zealand team later in the season, and also the Kangaroo Tour at the end of the year.
So Gary Belcher, one of the new faces in the Queensland side, tackled just inside his own quarter-wide. Cavill, another one of the changes to the team. He came in, of course, to replace the injured Greg Dowling. Queensland 10 metres short of half-wide. Given back to Meninga, standing deep. Meninga puts in the long kick, bouncing down inside the quarter-way of New South Wales. Picked up by Gary Jack. And he and his Balmain teammate Steve Roach, both somewhat under injury clouds. But they've been past fit for this match, but I know the feeling in the Queensland camp is that neither Roach nor Jack is 100% fit.
Now, Queensland need to get away to a good start in this game. They can't afford to be in a situation where they were in the last game, where they've got to play what we call catch-up football. They can't allow the big New South Wales forwards to stand, tackle and offload.
Well, New South Wales in this corresponding game last year got away to a 12-0 lead before Queensland hit back. Queensland can't afford to do that tonight. New South Wales putting in the kick. Les Kiss, playing this season with North Sydney and having a dynamic season too in Sydney, and making his State of Origin debut and his first touch. He'll feel a lot happier after that. Wally Lewis gets an extra roar from the crowd as he takes it to 10 metres short of halfway.
And that's one thing Wally Lewis must do tonight. He's a great footballer, as we all know, but he's forgotten one thing that made him what he was, and that was his ability to run the football. He doesn't necessarily have to run it like that every time, but if he's prepared to run the ball, wear him with a big show.
Meninga kicking once again inside the quarter-way. Peter Sterling goes back for it, gives his pass away to Gary Jack. Jack is taken and put to ground by the Queensland defence. Coming up very quickly was Cavill. Back to Sterling, away to Brett Kenny, then to Michael O'Connor. O'Connor held on to in the tackle of Greg Kinescu, and into aid Kinescu is Mark Murray.
This is where Queensland have got to keep New South Wales pinned. They've got to reverse the situation that they put on us in Brisbane. We've got to make them play pressure football in their own quarter, and it gets back to pressuring their kickers as we just did then, and forcing them. They didn't make a lot of yardage, and they only made about 30 yards, and it's Queensland's speed and loose head, so they should win possession.
Chris Mortimer's kick finding touch, some 11 metres short of halfway. That's where Mark Murray will feed the scrum. Barry Gomersall just telling both packs what he expects in the scrums through the match. Murray feeds, won by Queensland, given away to Lewis. Short pass to Gary Belcher, coming into a gap, running hard. Belcher looking for support and finds Gene Miles, away to Dale Shearer. He's put it down, goes back and dives on it, but Barry Gomersall rules quite correctly that the pass had initially been knocked forward, and that could be a chance gone begging for Queensland, but good work by Gary Belcher.
There was a try on for sure there. All Shearer had to do was maintain possession of the ball and go for the corner. He only had the one cover defender coming across. It was a good set of play from the scrum base from Lewis and Belcher.
New South Wales in possession on their own quarter-way. Wayne Pearce, the New South Wales captain, is tackled. Just outside their own quarter. It's played by O'Connor. Simmons distributes for Steve Roach. Roach looking to get his pass away, can't do so. Gavin Jones over the top made sure that he couldn't release, as he did so much in Brisbane and put so much pressure on the Queensland defence. Gary Belcher steps away from O'Connor. He's still running, Belcher. 8 metres short of halfway is where he's put to ground. Les Kiss has tremendous ability, Kiss, to beat the first defender. And that's always a help. If you can get around the first defender, make another 8 or 9 metres after you've got around the first man in defence, it's a big help for the rest of your attackers. Lewis's kick came off a New South Wales player. It'll bounce into touch, so the scrum will back down. Barry Gomersall ruling that came off New South Wales, so Queensland will have the feed to this scrum. An important feed too, just outside the New South Wales quarterway. There's the pack weights, New South Wales and Queensland. Penalty goes to Queensland. Much to the dislike of the New South Wales fans. Offside rules Barry Gomersall. Here it is again on our NEC replay.
And a very correct decision there from Gomersall. There was no one. Will Kenny was behind his last forward in the scrum before the ball actually cleared our last man.
Murray gives it away to Broman. Dummies, runs himself, Darryl Broman. Roach is there to put him to ground. Penalty Queensland. It'll be against Steve Roach. He's got himself 5 minutes in the sin bin, I think. He has. 5 minutes in the sin bin for Steve Roach for using a knee. So that wouldn't make big Steve Roach very happy. Nor, I think, would it make Ron Willey, the New South Wales coach, very happy, but there's no doubt about it. Well, Les Boyd broke that jaw in the opening minutes of Darryl Broman's first State of Origin match. I think Steve Roach was out to try and do likewise in his second game 3 years later.
Well, totally undisciplined football there from Roach, and I'm sure he wouldn't be too impressed with that himself. And knowing Ronnie Willey, Ronnie doesn't mind his boys missing it, but he doesn't like indiscriminate foul play like that, that's for sure. And that's just going to cost his side hopefully 2 points.
Meninga moves in, the kick's on its way. Looks good, it is, and Queensland have the first points on the board of the State of Origin clash in Sydney. Queensland lead New South Wales by 2 points to 0. Quick kick-off taken by New South Wales. Similar to the ploy that they adopted in Brisbane. So Queensland are inside their own quarterway. Dale Shearer to play it, back to Gary Belcher.
Well, this is where our kicking game and our tactics have really got to come to the fore. In the first game when we were stuck in our own quarter, we elected to use the ball for the full complement of tackles and didn't kick. Both New South Wales wingers are up at the moment. The kick is on right now.
And back it goes to Meninga for the kick. Putting it down to Gary Jack. He can't take it cleanly. It goes back into his own in-goal area. So the Queensland defenders coming up quickly. They catch Gary Jack just outside his own quarterway.
Big opportunity for Bob Linder tonight. He had what we'd probably refer to as an unfortunate game in Brisbane. His form wasn't all that good, but he's gained a reprieve through injury and so on. And he's a quality footballer, and I expect him to really come back to his best tonight.
Played by Peter Tunks. Away to Sterling. Wide to Noel Cleal. Did well to drag that pass in, Cleal. Just short of halfway is where he's put to ground. Gavin Jones went in with Ian French to knock him over. Stephen Folkes, almost to the halfway mark. Last tackle coming up for New South Wales indicates Barry Gomersall. Mortimer's kick. Taken by Les Kiss.
Again, we saw good pressure there from, I think it was Greg Kinescu on Mortimer, the New South Wales kicker. And that's what they've got to do. They've got to pressure him every time he elects to kick the ball.
Queensland just near halfway. Mark Murray decides to run it himself, taking it up the centre. Steve Folkes the tackler. Back to Meninga. Kicking out towards Andrew Farah. Not a good judge kick, that one by, not a well-judged kick by Meninga. Farah took it on the full. Brought to ground just outside his own quarterway. Queensland leading by 2 points to 0. Sterling. His pass on the blind side. Noel Cleal once again. Given away to Sterling. This is Peter Tunks. Well tackled by Kinescu, bringing him to ground. 1 metre short of the halfway mark. Roy Simmons, a one-handed pass back for Wayne Pearce.
Cavill Hugh missed that tackle on Peter Tunks, and he's an extremely good footballer, Cavill Hugh. But this is really going to test him tonight. We're going to find out whether he can tackle or not.
Brett Kenny using the little kick. In behind Les Kiss. Finds the touchline. So the scrum will pack some 22 metres into Queensland territory. There it is again on the NEC replay. A well-placed little grubber kick by Brett Kenny.
One thing Queensland have got to do tonight is increase the speed of their play-the-ball movements. We were far too slow in Brisbane, allowing the New South Wales players to dominate the 5 metres.
Differential penalty against Mark Murray. Not retiring was the ruling by Barry Gomersall. Steve Roach Comes back from the sin bin, and he'll be back on the field shortly. So New South Wales can now put the pressure on. The kick finding touch inside the Queensland quarterway. Peter Tunks hitting it straight up the centre. In low to put him to ground was Cavill-Hugh. Greg Kinescu over the top. Wayne Pearce trying to bust his way through. Gavin Jones is there to meet him. In to help was Darryl Broman. Simmons, well taken by Wally Lewis. Good pressure by the Queensland captain to make sure Simmons couldn't get that pass away. Folks distributes for Sterling. Then away to Brett Kenny. Kenny trying to slice his way through. Gene Miles has him. Back to Sterling. His pass to Noel Cleland. Good defence by Queensland. They're 11 metres out, New South Wales. Final tackle coming up. Simmons away to Sterling. The little grubber kick. Belcher going back for it. Knocks it over the touch in goal. And so Queensland forced to a goal line dropout.
Dale Shearer's efforts here is very ordinary. He left Belcher on his own there. Shearer made no attempt to get back in that in the Indian goal area then, John, to help his teammate out. I hope he's fit this time. The heavy rumours around Brisbane after the first game that he wasn't fit, and if he's taken the field not fit again, well, he should be replaced very smartly. But he made no effort then, no genuine effort to help his teammate.
So after the goal line dropout, New South Wales start charging it back at Queensland. They're 20 metres back inside Queensland territory. Simmons gives it away to Sterling. O'Connor did well to take that pass, Michael O'Connor. Put to ground by Miles going in low, and Murray coming over the top. Simmons giving the pass again to Peter Tunks.
But Queensland can't afford to happen. They allowed Tunks to stay on his feet, and then you see the big man Roach go again.
Kenny doing well, getting the pass out wide for Andrew Farah. Farah just short of the quarterway. Lewis is there to put Farah to ground. Roy Simmons. Stephen Folkes running it inside the quarter. That's tackle number 5 for New South Wales. Sterling again. This time he elects to put it in the air. Belcher and Shearer going back for it. Shearer allowed Gary Belcher to take it. He did well to take it under pressure in his in-goal area. And under the new law in force this year, it means that Queensland bring it back to the quarterway for the tap restart. Good take by Gary Belcher. He was under a lot of pressure with Gary Jack coming through quickly after that.
And Dale Shearer is hobbling already. When he went back there to try and assist Belcher, it was fairly obvious that, it doesn't appear that the man's 100% fit. If he's not fit, he should get off the paddock and let a fit man on there.
Cavill-Hugh to play it. 20 metres short of halfway, Queensland. Greg Kinescu put to ground. Lewis, the pass back for Meninga. Away to Gary Belcher. Pressured by Peter Sterling, but got the kick away out towards the wing of Andrew Farah. Farah is back 8 metres on his own side of halfway. Queensland leading by 2-0 over New South Wales in the second Winfield State of Origin clash of the season. Roy Simmons, man of the match in the Brisbane encounter, plays it. This is Steve Roach running wide. Loose pass on the bounce to Farah. New South Wales just on halfway. Back to Mortimer. His kick for Gary Belcher. Belcher runs it out of the quarterway. Away to Les Kiss. Got away from Brett Kenny. Still going, coming back infield, looking for Gary Belcher coming up in support. Great run by Les Kiss. But good defence eventually by New South Wales. Gary Jack coming in with Hetherington to put him over, but Queensland getting to the quarterway. Bob Linder tackled. Back to Kinescu. Now away from Ian French. On to Wally Lewis. To French doubling around him. Sterling was in underneath to drag Ian French to ground. Dale Shearer steps, tries to run himself. Looking to get the pass away. Can't do so. Stephen Folkes ensured he couldn't. Kinescu distributes for Mark Murray. Then to Cavill-Hugh. Met by big Steve Roach and put to ground heavily with Tunks going in as well, and Stephen Folkes. It's a pretty formidable trio. Last tackle. Lewis chips over the top. Mortimer's back to take it. Held on to 8 metres out from his own line. Andrew Farah using his bulk and speed to almost reach the quarterway. This is Sterling. Then away to Brett Kenny. Kenny slipped through Mark Murray's tackle. Gets into open spaces. Then can't pick up his outside support, Michael O'Connor. And his pass goes into touch, a few metres short of halfway.
See Kenny get around Mark Murray very easily there, and that's not Mark Murray's normal style in defence. He's normally a very strong defender. He's not afraid to leave the ground and drive in with his shoulders. But we've got to be tighter in the middle of the ruck too. New South Wales player there made about 15 easy metres, mainly because our Queensland forwards weren't tight enough and didn't move up, and that's where we're really missing Niebling.
Murray trying to break away from his opposite number, Peter Sterling, but can't. Kinescu distributes for Darryl Broman out wide to Gavin Jones. Jones taking it back towards the New South Wales quarterway. Queensland in front by 2 points to 0. Gene Miles. A real danger man for New South Wales. This is Lewis. Elects to run. Gets his pass away. Given brilliantly back inside. They'll go in and score. Ian French is over underneath the post. To the boos of the New South Wales crowd, but it was set up by Wally Lewis. And Lewis tonight is showing his critics that he can run the football, and here it is on the NEC replay. Lewis steps, runs, catches them off guard, gets his pass away to Meninga. Inside it goes to Ian French, who loves to score a try, and French is in underneath the post, and Queensland lead by 6-0. It should be 8-0 in a moment, and that's just the start the Maroons wanted.
Let's put that down to Wally Lewis. Wally, it's one of the few occasions this season where Wally's elected to run the ball. This is what made him a great player in 83 and 84. He can break the first line. He's offloaded. The crowd are booing about the replay on the big scoreboard. That
well, the crowd booing that the pass was forward. But the points are on the board, whether they like it or whether they don't. 6 points to 0 it is.
And if Lewis keeps running the football, Queensland can win.
Meninga's kick is there, and Queensland lead New South Wales in the Winfield State of Origin match by 8 points to 0. 8 points to 0. New South Wales now the ones under pressure, and Wayne Pearce is put to ground just over halfway. Simmons getting his pass onto Steve Roach. A fight on in back play between Simmons and Kinescu. That's the first fight of the State of Origin series this year. And Barry Gomersall this time is going to call a halt. Mainly because all of the players were involved. I don't think there were many left to play football for him.
No, there wasn't, and obviously there's a bit of ill feeling there, or feeling between Kinescu and Simmons. They both know that there's a test position on the line. So there's neither player's going to give any favours. There you can see them in the corner going for it. The game, that's really the first sort of interruption of the game. I don't think we've had a drop ball from general play as yet, John. It's really been a situation where both sides are controlling the ball well. The defence has been strong on most occasions, and it's a game of kick and chase, really. That's what's making the yardage for both sides.
So Barry Gomersall allows New South Wales to play the ball, and you're watching the NEC big game, the second Winfield State of Origin, coming to you on Nine's Wide World of Sports, live from the Sydney Cricket Ground. Queensland leading by 8 points to 0. Queensland 10 metres out from their own line. Dale Shearer. Kinescu moves into the dummy half. To Gavin Jones. And this is where Queensland must control the football. They lost it at some vital moments in the first game when they were inside their own quarterway and their kicking game wasn't good. Wayne Bennett, the Queensland coach, said that if they can correct their mistakes, then they can win. And it was the basic mistakes that let them down in Brisbane.
Well, they got themselves bogged down their own quarter up at Blank Park, and then they came up with the lost possessions, and they weren't kicking effectively. They were waiting on for the last tackle to kick, and New South Wales players were covering it. It's very noticeable now that we're just working the ball away, 1 or 2 rucks, and then the long kicking, particularly from Meninga.
New South Wales winning the scrum with their feed. Gary Jack tackled just on halfway. Queensland lead by 8 points to 0. Played back to Michael O'Connor. Cavill Hugh is the defender. Dummy half Royce Simmons. Away to Steve Roach. Roach looking to get the pass away, but big Darryl Broman wraps him up, ball and all. And that's what we didn't do in Brisbane. Brett Kenny Mortimer getting his pass for Andrew Farrer, his Canterbury clubmate.
He beat Shearer very easily there.
And Shearer does look to be hobbling. He's definitely not 100% fit, Dale Shearer. Big Noel Cleal trying to bust through, but underneath goes Bob Linder to pull him to ground. They're just short of the Queensland quarterway, and the last coming up, Sterling using the kick, turning Queensland around. It goes back into the in-goal area. Les Kiss will run it dead, and Queensland to a goal line dropout.
Wayne Bennett's got to make a very tough decision here. If Shearer's not fit, he's got to get him off the paddock. He's got a good replacement player in Peter Jackson, and he could cover the wing position. He mightn't have the skills and technique and so on as Shearer at this stage, but you know, a fit Peter Jackson's a much better player than an unfit Dale Shearer.
Wally Lewis taking the goal line dropout. Caught by Peter Sterling. He gives his pass to Brian Hetherington.
The long release Shearer on, the more chance of them scoring a try down his side, or him contributing to a try.
Probably an interesting thing about the New South Wales side. They're two wingers. Neither of them are specialist wingers. Andrew Farrer and Brian Hetherington, both specialist centres, been picked on the wing as Stephen Folkes makes a bust. He's running hard. Stephen Folkes getting towards the line. He's only 2 metres out where he was met by the Queensland defence. Gary Belcher got him. Great run by Steve Folkes. Sterling gives it away to Roy Simmons. Simmons pops it up. Trying to go through is Wayne Pearce, then away to Peter Tunks. Tunks almost over, gets it away again to Roy Simmons. He can't get it down. He's a half a metre out. New South Wales right on the Queensland line. Simmons to play the ball. Dummy half will be Noel Cleal. Back to Cleal. He gets it away to Sterling. Quickly on to Brett Kenny. Queensland a thin out wide. Away it goes from O'Connor onto Andrew Farrer. He'll go in and score. That's a good New South Wales try. Started initially by a fine run by Stephen Folkes and finished by his Canterbury teammate Andrew Farrer in the corner. So it's 8 points to 4 with the attempted conversion to come.
Classical backline football here. The passing's crisp and long and sharp. It's always put in front of the man. Dale Shearer, can't blame him for that. He was left unattended out there by his defensive teammates. But that all goes back to bad miss-tackling on the quarter line from Cavalier, Darryl Brahman and Greg Konescu to allow folks to virtually just walk out of a tackle. And then Queensland were desperate. They came up with 2 super tackles right on their own line, but then they were stretched right along the left-hand side of the paddock, and we just didn't have the numbers.
So Andrew Farrer goes in to score in the corner. 8 points to 4 it is, as the big Canterbury three-quarter makes his way back. He had an unhappy game in Brisbane, but that'll certainly give him a lot more confidence. And Michael O'Connor from near touch with the attempted conversion. Around the corner style of Michael O'Connor. Sucking in a couple of those deep breaths to get rid of a few of the nerves. The kick's on its way. Waved away, no goal. So Queensland lead New South Wales by 8 points to 4 at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Just got a penalty after the kickoff. Brian Hetherington knocked on, but before the scrum was set, Queensland were penalised for barging into the scrum. So New South Wales have taken the tap free just on halfway, and they're now back into Queensland territory with 14.5 minutes remaining until half-time. Steve Roach to play it. Back to Roy Simmons. Away to Stephen Folkes. Folkes held on to this time by Bob Linder with Konescu over the top, and going in as well was Ian French. Back to Simmons. Away to Sterling. On to Brett Kenny. Then to Michael O'Connor. O'Connor trying to get around Meninga. Miles was there to cover him up. Played quickly to Kenny. Once more to Sterling. Then to Wayne Pearce. Pearce pops the pass up for Noel Cleal. Cleal held on to by Miles. Lewis coming in as well. Last tackle coming up for New South Wales. They're almost up to the Queensland quarterway. Played back to Simmons. They'll work the blind to Peter Sterling. Then on to Brett Kenny going through a gap. He gets to Belcher, fires it away, and they're in to score. Great work by New South Wales. Michael O'Connor going in to score the try. So New South Wales hit back with 2 very quick tries, and excellent work this. Brett Kenny clamping on the speed, getting away from Gavin Jones, on to Michael O'Connor, who dives over for a good New South Wales try, and the Blues hit back to make it 8 points all.
And the lead-up work was caused by the big forwards going up the middle, and then we saw Wally Lewis at marker and Gene Miles at first defender off the ruck. Peter Sterling spotted it. You see him here, he throws a long cut-out pass. Brett Kenny hits the hole perfectly, and Lewis and Miles aren't there in defence. They're around the middle of the ruck, tidying up some very untidy forward defence from the Queensland players. And that's where our real big problem is, John. It's not out wide. The players weren't there because they've had to come in and tidy up the poor defensive efforts of the big men in the middle. And we are really missing Brian Niebling and the likes of Wally Fullerton-Smith and Paddy Vorton.
So New South Wales very quickly level up the score at 8 points all. And Michael O'Connor with the chance to put the Blues in front for the first time in the match. Swinging back in, but again, unsuccessful. So it's 8 all with 12.5 minutes remaining until the half-time break. You're watching the NEC Big Game, coming to you live from the Sydney Cricket Ground, the second State of Origin clash between Queensland and New South Wales. And Queensland, after getting away to a good lead of 8 points to 0, now find themselves at 8 all. Sterling running it back into the in-goal. Took that kick off from Meninga well, Peter Sterling.
Sterling's the key player at the moment. He's the playmaker, and we're going to put a lot of pressure on him. What he's waiting to happen is the big New South Wales forwards are just taking the ball in the middle of the ruck, working from goalpost to goalpost virtually. And then when there's numbers on either the left or right hand side, he's calling the play, directing it expertly, and finding his runners into the holes.
Peter Tunks to play it, just on his own quarterway. Simmons gives it away for Wayne Pearce. Pearce is tackled by Bob Linder. Simmons again, back for Mortimer. The kick bouncing down to Gary Belcher. Belcher's 15 metres inside his own territory. Away to Dale Shearer. Shearer taken by O'Connor and Farah. This is Darryl Broman. Tackled by his Penrith teammate, Roy Simmons. Gavin Jones bumps away from one, but the pass has gone to ground. New South Wales will pick it up, so play on. Brett Kenny gets his pass back inside for Stephen Folkes, and New South Wales are inside Queensland territory. Sterling on to Roach. Played to Simmons. Away to Sterling. Now to Gary Jack. Got away from Meninga. Roman went underneath. Jack trying to get the pass away, but couldn't. Gene Miles came in to wrap him up. Back to Roy Simmons. Blindside they work from Sterling onto Michael O'Connor. His pass back inside for Mortimer. Peter Sterling. Chips over the top. Good chip too. Referee Barry Gomersall says play on. The New South Wales crowd didn't like it. Barry Gomersall indicated that it was off the shoulder and play on. So Gene Miles in possession. Queensland are 20 metres inside their own territory. 8 points all it is.
Queensland have just simply got to control the football better. The last 2 sets of 6 they've had it, they've put it down the early tackles. By doing that, it only causes it puts their own defence under immense pressure.
Gary Belcher using the kick. Brian Hetherington waiting for it to bounce. An awkward bounce for him. Eventually he picks it up. Les Kiss gets him and puts him to ground. New South Wales just inside their own half. Jack runs away from dummy half. Chased and put to ground by Kiss with the aid of Mark Murray. Back to Simmons. Then away to Sterling. On to Kenny. Then to Mortimer. Out wide to O'Connor. Quick hands to Andrew Farah.
And again we see Sterling the halfback. Gene Miles was involved in the double marker situation on the right hand side of the field, so Mortimer straight away elected to move the ball out to where he should have been.
Wayne Pearce just 2 metres into Queensland territory with the last tackle coming up for New South Wales, and they'll set themselves for the kick. Peter Sterling it is. Puts it in behind Les Kiss. Top kick by Peter Sterling. A great kick by the halfback. He's a top player, Peter Sterling. There's no doubt about it. He's a match winner.
He's a great player, and he's having a dominating influence on this game. He's directing all their play once the big men have done their work. He's kicking, his field kicking superb. He knows every bit of grass on this ground. And his performance is first class at the moment.
Mark Murray inside his own quarterway. Ian French got away from Peter Sterling. Gets outside the quarterway with a good determined run by Ian French, the Queensland back rower. Now to Lewis. Lewis thrown to ground by Folkes and Roach. Back it goes to Meninga. Gets around Roach, then gets his kick downfield. Andrew Farah dummies to Gary Jack and then decides to run himself.
The Queensland are going to be very careful with their tactics at this point of time. There's 8 minutes left in play. It's a good tactic to kick the ball in the early tackles, but you can't kick it away to them and just keep giving the Blues the ball. Otherwise, they'll just keep running it back and you put your defence under enormous pressure.
Stephen Folkes just on the halfway mark. Simmons gives it infield to Sterling. Then once more to Kenny, holding a short pass up for Wayne Pearce. Meninga slipped and went down in back play inside to Hetherington, then away to Roach. This is looking dangerous. Roach gets his pass away once more, out through Mortimer, then away to Wayne Pearce, going for the corner. He's in. New South Wales are in for try number 3. And they hit the front for the first time of the match. New South Wales lead by 12 points to 8. Wayne Pearce, the New South Wales captain, scores in the corner. Here it is again on the NEC replay. Meninga slipped over. He complained to the referee that he was obstructed. But that gave the opening for New South Wales and they capitalised on it.
Very poor defence there from the Maroons. Unfortunately, one of our players did slip over and allowed Pearce to make the break and turn it back into Hetherington. A good support play, even the big man Roach. Fine ball to Mortimer. Gets it away to Pearce, and Pearce is hungry for the trial. He knows exactly where to go. We just ran out of defensive players.
Yes, a good try by New South Wales. And as you said, good work by some of the big men, including Steve Roach, to be vitally involved in that try.
This is the crucial point of time for Queensland too. Our stamina will be really tested. We haven't had the hard football that these guys have been playing. They've been fighting 15 rounders since mid-February down here, and we've been virtually playing 3-round prelims up there. And it's one of the problems we've got as far as our State of Origin football and our Panasonic Cup team goes. Maybe our administration's got to have a look at the structure of our league up there, because we just don't seem to be able to match it in the stamina stakes. And football, firstly, is a game for athletes built on stamina, and then your skill comes into it from there. If you can't run the distance, it doesn't matter how good you are.
So Michael O'Connor, a difficult task for him in the goal-kicking department, have all been from out near touch, and he'll miss this one as well. But 3 tries by New South Wales have the Blues in front by 12 points to 8 in the Winfield State of Origin match, coming to you live from the Sydney Cricket Ground. Meninga to bring it back for the restart. Just over 5 minutes remaining until half-time. The kick-off downfield to Peter Sterling. He gives it on to Gary Jack. Chased by Mark Murray, held on to by Murray with Miles over the top. Back to Sterling.
Again,
Brian Hetherington just on the quarterway.
And we see a first up missed tackle from Gene Miles, and that's been one of our big problems. Here they come straight at the middle of the ruck again, and we notice that Miles and Lewis are caused to be the defensive players around the middle of the ruck. And Sterling will push the ball right or left here.
Back to Sterling. He uses the kick. Across field towards Dale Shearer. Shearer takes it. He's definitely hobbling, Dale Shearer. He's nowhere near fully fit. Just short of halfway is where Dale Shearer will play it to Greg Kinescu. Then it goes to Gavin Jones.
A very strong game, Gavin Jones. He's one of the few forwards that's running at the defensive line. So far, we haven't seen enough of Darryl Broman or Cavalier.
Gene Miles trying to bust his way through.
If we compare the amount of times that our big men actually ran at the New South Wales line and tried to hit the line and offload to what the Blues are doing to us, we would find we'd be way behind in comparison, I'd reckon.
Kinescu gives it away to Mark Murray. Murray getting his pass across field, but New South Wales coming up very quickly in defence. Last tackle coming up for Queensland. Gavin Jones plays it to Kinescu. Then it goes back to Lewis, using the kick, bouncing out towards touch and finding it just on the New South Wales quarterway.
The Maroons look totally disorganised at the moment, and the main reason is that our big fellas aren't doing their work properly. They're not running off the dummy half at the advantage line and putting the pressure on the New South Wales defence. They're relying on just one forward taking it up, and then we're electing to push the ball out wide. It's no good moving the ball out wide until you've got the defence on the back move.
Wayne Pearce to play it, just over his own quarter way, back to Simmons. Then it goes to Noel Cleal. Cleal tackled by Cavalhue. This is the NEC Big Game, live from the Sydney Cricket Ground. Peter Tunks.
See the difference there, right? He's knocked the ball on, but the difference in play from New South Wales. Cleal took the ball up, then Tunks was elected to take the ball to the line. Right, they come up with a fumble and a turnover, but that's the difference in the play. Their big men are working much harder than ours in attack, and they're making our big blokes come up with all the defensive work.
This scrum screwing around. Penalty goes to Queensland against New South Wales, collapsing the scrum. So the differential penalty to Queensland. I must admit, John Barber, I was a little surprised when Brian Niebling pulled out, considering the number of running forwards we've got on our side, and when they called Brad Tessman in, I thought they may have put him straight into the starting lineup, just telling him to go out and tackle.
Yeah, it would have been my choice. I'd have gone for a defensive player or a player. There's nothing wrong with the defence of the players they've brought in, but they're more free-running players than solid defenders.
Well, Queensland would love a try just before half-time, which is exactly 2 minutes away. Mark Murray trying to skirt his way through, but Sterling's over the top to stop him. Kanescu is the dummy half. Away to Lewis. Lewis looking for a runner. Has to try and go himself. The defence up very quickly into the roars of the crowd. Wally Lewis is put on the ground. He'll play it back to Gene Miles. Miles will try and crash his way from dummy half, but can't get through. That's the 5th tackle. Queensland will put it in the air, no doubt. Back to Kanescu, then away to Darryl Broman. Broman with a little chip across the face of goal. New South Wales going up for it. It's loose. It's a try. Queensland are in. That's the try they wanted. Bobby Lindy will find who scored the try. The try that Queensland so desperately wanted just before the break, and here it is on the NEC replay.
It's a perfect little chip kick here from Broman, very skillful footballer, puts it just in behind the try line. There's a mad scramble for possession. Linda's come up with the ball, and Gomer's in perfect position to reel correctly.
And the SCG scoreboard puts up a big sign saying, let's hear it for the Maroons. They heard it all right, about 40,000 boos. But that's just the try that Queensland wanted. Bobby Linda scoring. Oh, for Darryl Broman chip kick. So Meninga, with the score at 12 points all, has the chance to put Queensland in front at the half-time break.
And we really needed that try badly, because it looked as if the floodgates were going to open up with the Maroons. We looked as if we were running out of puff and weren't doing the big blokes weren't doing the heavy work.
And it really came from that drop ball by Stephen Folkes inside his own quarter-way that put a scrum from which Queensland got the penalty. Meninga's kick is offline, no goal. And that brings a cheer from the New South Wales crowd.
They reckon we're biased and parochial up there, Macca.
I think they've learnt from us.
Yes, well, we've probably taught them pretty well.
So the hooter sounds for half-time. And it's a tied-up ball game at the break. Queensland 12, New South Wales 12. That's the half-time score at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Score in the State of Origin clash. It's 12-all between Queensland and New South Wales. For New South Wales, they've scored 3 tries. O'Connor, Farah and Wayne Pearce, the try scorers. But O'Connor has missed all 3 attempted conversions. For Queensland, French and Linda, the try scorers. Meninga has kicked 2 out of 3. The scrums at half-time are 3-all. They've all gone with the feed. Penalties are 3-2 to Queensland. The missed tackle count, Queensland have missed 12 and New South Wales have missed 7. 12-all at half-time. Do you think Queensland a little lucky to go to half-time at 12-all?
Yeah, we've been very lucky, John, to go at 12-all. And now the main statistic is the missed tackle count, 12 to us and 7 to them. We've got to tighten our defence up in the middle of the ruck. And when we've got the ball, our big men, particularly Broman and Hugh and Jones, have got to run it at the defensive line more and try and offload.
Well, it's 12 points all. Let's look now at the highlights of the first half. This is Lewis. Elects to run, gets his pass away, given brilliantly back inside. They'll go in and score. Ian French is over underneath the post. To the boos of the New South Wales crowd, but it was set up by Wally Lewis. And Lewis tonight is showing his critics that he can run the football, and here it is on the NEC replay. Lewis steps, runs, catches them off guard, gets his pass away to Meninga. Inside it goes to Ian French, who loves to score a try, and French is in underneath the post, and Queensland lead by 6-0. It should be 8-0 in a moment, and that's just the start the Maroons wanted.
Let's put that down to Wally Lewis. Wally, it's one of the few occasions this season where Wally's elected to run the ball. This is what made him a great player in 83 and 84. He can break the first line. He's offloaded. The crowd are booing about on the replay on the big scoreboard.
Andrew Farrer and Brian Hetherington, both specialist centres, been picked on the wing as Stephen Folkes makes a bust. He's running hard, Stephen Folkes getting towards the line. He's only 2 metres out where he was met by the Queensland defence. Gary Belcher got him. Great run by Steve Folkes. Sterling gives it away to Roy Simmons. Simmons pops it up, trying to go through as Wayne Pearce, then away to Peter Tunks. Tunks almost over, gets it away again to Roy Simmons. He can't get it down. He's a half a metre out. New South Wales right on the Queensland line. Simmons to play the ball. Dummy half will be Noel Cleal. Back to Cleal. He gets it away to Sterling. Quickly on to Brett Kenny. Queensland a thin out wide. Away it goes from O'Connor on to Andrew Farrer. He'll go in and score. That's a good New South Wales try. Started initially by a fine run by Stephen Folkes and finished by his Canterbury teammate Andrew Farrer in the corner. So it's 8 points to 4 with the attempted conversion to come.
Classical backline football here. The passing's crisp and long and sharp. It's always put in front of the man. Dale Shearer, can't blame him for that. He was left unattended out there with by his defensive teammates. But that all goes back to a bad miss-tackling on the quarter line from Cavalier, Darryl Brahman and Greg Konescu to allow folks to virtually just walk out of a tackle. And then Queensland were desperate. They came up with 2 super tackles right on their own line. And then they were stretched right along the left-hand side of the paddock, and we just didn't have the numbers.
Last tackle coming up for New South Wales. They're almost up to the Queensland quarterway. Played back to Simmons. They'll work the blind to Peter Sterling. Then on to Brett Kenny going through a gap. He gets to Belcher, fires it away, and they're in to score. Great work by New South Wales. Michael O'Connor going in to score the try. So New South Wales hit back with 2 very quick tries, and excellent work this. Brett Kenny clamping on the speed, getting away from Gavin Jones, on to Michael O'Connor, who dives over for a good New South Wales try, and the Blues hit back to make it 8 points all.
And the lead-up work was caused by the big forwards going up the middle, and then we saw Wally Lewis at marker and Gene Miles at first defender off the ruck. Peter Sterling spotted it. You see him here, he throws a long cut-out pass. Brett Kenny hits the hole perfectly, and Lewis and Miles aren't there in defence. They're around the middle of the ruck.
Holding a short pass up for Wayne Pearce. Meninga slipped and went down in back play inside to Hetherington, then away to Roach. This is looking dangerous. Roach gets his pass away once more, out through Mortimer, then away to Wayne Pearce going for the corner. He's in. New South Wales are in for try number 3. And they hit the front for the first time of the match. Put it in the air, no doubt. Back to Konescu, then away to Darryl Broman. Broman with a little chip across the face of goal. New South Wales going up for it. It's loose. It's a try. Queensland are in. That's the try they wanted. Bobby Lindy will find who scored the try. The break, and here it is on the NEC replay.
It's a perfect little chip kick here from Broman. Very skillful footballer. Puts it just in behind the try line. There's a mad scramble for possession. Linda's come up with the ball, and Gomerville in perfect position. It's a real correction.
So it's 12 all at half-time, and Queensland fighting desperately to win this match and therefore keep the State of Origin series alive. Of course, the last State of Origin game will be played in Brisbane on Tuesday, the 1st of July. And then late in July, we have the test match, the 3rd test between Australia and New Zealand. The first test is at Carlaw Park, Auckland, the second here in Sydney, and the 3rd test will be in New Zealand. Now, we're going to give you now the chance to win a double reserved invitation to come along to both the State of Origin match and the test match. 2 reserved tickets to both games. And here's the question we want you to answer. All you have to tell us is who did Australia play against in last year's Winfield Test Series. Name the country that Australia played against last year. Just write your answer on the back of an envelope along with your own name and address and send it to the NEC Big Game Competition, GPO Box 999, Brisbane 4001, and we'll be drawing the winners of that competition in Wide World of Sport on Saturday, June 21st. We'll be back for the second half of the Winfield State of Origin clash from the Sydney Cricket Ground after this break. Sanders make their way back out. The New South Wales side are already on the field. 12 all is the score. A reminder that tonight in the Brisbane Telegraph is the special State of Origin lift-out, and you'll find in there the entry form for a competition which could win you a fantastic prize of a trip to go to watch the Kangaroos playing in the United Kingdom in November, a prize worth almost, or worth over, in fact, $3,500. Now, the competition, the question that's being asked, we want you to name the time to the nearest minute that the last try is scored in tonight's State of Origin match. Entries in the special lift-out, State of Origin lift-out in the Telegraph this evening. Get your entry in, jot down the times of the tries, put in the time of the last try. Who knows, you could be going on that fantastic trip to watch the Kangaroos in action in the United Kingdom in November. Queensland in the second half, running from the northern end. That's the Paddington end of the Sydney Cricket Ground. Menenga to kick off, 12 all the score, and the official attendance tonight, 40,707. Just going up on the board, a great crowd in Sydney, 40,707, and they're being treated to a great game. Gary Jack bringing it back towards his own quarterway. Gene Miles is the tackler, and a penalty goes to New South Wales. Queensland putting in a punch in the tackle. Gavin Jones deemed to be the offender by Barry Gomersall. Over the top with that arm, Gavin Jones gives away a penalty.
Again, undisciplined play there from Queensland, and we're in a desperate situation where we must win this game of football to keep the series alive. And the players know what's at stake at the end of the year for them if they can win these next two matches. But they don't have to play like desperate men. Desperate men do silly things. They've got to be desperate, all right, but they can't have their mind, their body take over their mind. They've still got to play with common sense, and that was undisciplined and out of character for Gavin Jones.
So the penalty kick finds touch, just short of halfway. Simmons takes the tap. On it goes to Peter Tunks. He runs it into Queensland territory. Kineski was the tackler. Played back to Simmons. Away again to Steve Roach. Roach wrapped up by Darryl Broman going in high and Cavalier underneath. Simmons distributes to the blind side to Sterling. Again to Gary Jack. Knocked over and a good tackle by Ian French. This is Stephen Folkes. Cavalier the tackler. Played back to Roy Simmons.
New South Wales tactics are fairly obvious there. They've just, I'd say Coach Ron Willie would have said to his players, we're better conditioned than the Maroons. We've had harder football. Through no fault of the Maroon players, it's just the setup. But he's electing to have his big men run at our players and make them come up with the tackles.
You're watching the NEC big game, a Winfield State of Origin clash from the Sydney Cricket Ground, live from Nine's wide world of sports. Darryl Broman just outside his own quarterway. Played back to Greg Kinescu. Immediately away to Menenga. The kick straight down the centre of the field for Gary Jack.
That's a fair enough tactic in its own right, but I think what Queensland have got to be careful of in this half is they just can't afford to kick away possession on the early tackles like that. That was the second tackle, and we kicked it straight back to them. We're giving them the ball, and here we see Roach again going at the line. All it's going to cause is make the Maroons come up with all the defensive work and take our stammering away from us.
Lovely pass by Noel Cleal, putting New South Wales on the attack. Cleal again going from dummy half, a one-handed pass back to Sterling, away to Stephen Folkes. Folkes using the kick. Mortimer chasing, but back it goes for Gary Belcher. Belcher bringing it back towards the quarterway. Michael O'Connor is there to put him to ground. Gary Belcher down injured from that tackle. Referee Barry Gomersall signals timeout.
He's got a bad knock on the back of the head here in the Sydney Cricket Ground turf, pretty hard. There's no giving it either.
Queensland trainer Ken Ra on to attend to Gary Belcher. Of course, Ken Ra was his trainer at Souths in Brisbane. It's always a worry when Gary Belcher does receive a knock like that. My mind goes back to that game last year in Brisbane where he received a bad head knock and was hospitalised for about 2 or 3 days. Hopefully he's okay this time as he gets up and plays the ball. So 12 points all it is. Kinescu away to Murray. Gavin Jones trying to bust them down the centre. Wayne Pearce holds on to him, though, with a good copybook tackle by the New South Wales captain. Meninga uses the kick. Jack going across for it with Hetherington. Gary Jack takes it. Murray and Broman are the Queensland defenders. New South Wales a few metres out from their own quarterway. Hetherington works to the blind side. O'Connor the dummy half. This is Stephen Folkes.
You can see New South Wales, they're just prepared to work the ball hard into the middle of the ruck. They shoot the ball down the blind side to big Noel Cleal. But what they're doing effectively is making our Queensland forwards work overtime in defence.
Peter Sterling using the kick. Allowed to bounce. Meninga takes it. Got away from Brett Kenny. Andrew Farrer caught out of position, gives his pass away to Dale Shearer. He was ankle tapped by Andrew Farrer. Gets up and tries to run again. But Queensland are 20 metres back into New South Wales territory. Away from Lewis. Given on to Gene Miles. He stepped away again from Kenny. Gets into open spaces. Gary Jack gets him. He got the pass back. Referee Barry Gomersall rules that it was knocked on by Queensland, and so a scrum to go down. Just inside the New South Wales quarterway. Well done, Gary Jack. Good tackle, that one on Gene Miles. He would have, as soon as he saw Gene Miles coming, thought of that game in Brisbane a fortnight ago where Miles just crashed straight over the top of him. But to his credit, Gary Jack took him well.
It was really poor play from Big Gino. We had the New South Wales defence strung all around the paddock. There was a couple of good breaks there from Meninga and Shearer. And Miles up the middle of the ruck. All he really had to do was go to ground with the ball, and we can play and push the ball left or right from there and come up with a try. Just say we've got to play with desperation, but we've also got to play with common sense.
Stephen Folkes works from dummy half. The pass is loose. Queensland will dive on it. Cavalier has it. So a New South Wales mistake. Cavalier to play it. Back to Lewis. Not sure where to give it. Then a long pass to Mark Murray. He's taken immediately by Folkes. Queensland disorganised in that ruck. Back to Gene Miles, away to Darryl Broman. Dummies and elects to go up the centre, Broman. Over the top comes Roach and underneath Sterling to put him to ground. A few metres short of the New South Wales quarterway. From Murray to Lewis and then away to Bob Linder and a short pass to Dale Shearer. Down the wing he goes. Noel Cleal gets across in support. The ball's loose. Over the touchline it goes. And so the scrum will pack down. It'll be interesting to see whose feet it is. I think it'll be Queensland's. Let's watch it again on the NEC replay. I'm pretty sure it came off a New South Wales hand last. Into the air, off Noel Cleal. Penalty Queensland, differential penalty against New South Wales. The way they barged into that scrum, the New South Wales front row, so the differential penalty.
And he penalised Queensland for exactly the same thing in the first half, so that's fair enough.
Lewis puts the ball into touch, 10 metres out from the line, so the chance for Queensland. Canescu to take the tap. It's 12 points all here at the SCG. Murray, in fact, is going to take the tap. Away to Bob Linder. Broman gives it back to Murray. Caught immediately by Sterling and Kenny.
And Queensland just took too long there to put on their play. They didn't appear to know exactly what they were about. Then Mark Murray actually took the tap about 9 yards in from the sideline, not on the 10-yard line. That should have been, a scrum should have been back down, in fact.
Broman getting his pass away. Tackled is Bob Linder, 11 metres out. Played back to Canescu, across field to Murray. Then it goes to Lewis. Elects to run, now gives it to Miles. He dummies, tries to get away from Noel Cleal, but Crusher Cleal wraps him up with the aid of Sterling. On the blind side again to Lewis. Back in field it goes to Mark Murray. Murray is held on to. That's the 5th tackle. Lewis walks to the blind side, takes the pass off Canescu, puts in the little grubber kick. Going back for it is Gary Jack, but it's going to go over the dead ball line. So New South Wales to bring it back to the quarterway for the tap restart.
Well, Queensland just don't, to me, just don't seem to be playing the correct style of football. They're electing to just push the ball around the paddock all night, and in other words, they're playing football from sideline to sideline rather than going at the try line, having their big men go forward first and trying to control the ruck and slip passes away like this.
That was a good pass by Peter Tunks. It's loose on the ground. It's picked up by Mel Meninga, but Meninga's going to be called back for a knock-on, rules referee Barry Gomersall. Here it is again on the NEC replay.
And Queensland were lucky here. If this ball goes to hand to Hetherington, well, he's away. And it all comes back from allowing the big man Tunks to stand in a tackle and offload the ball to Sterling, who just shoots the ball out.
Peter Sterling tackled at the base of the scrum. Played back to Stephen Folkes. Folkes held on to by Ian French. 12 points all it is. Wayne Pearce running it towards the quarterway, and I watched New South Wales train solidly for an hour and a half yesterday, and I would say that the forwards, their work would have comprised almost half of that time doing exactly this. Their work around the rucks. Their big men just hitting it up, and they know exactly what each one of them is doing. Driven deep by Gary Jack. Gary Belcher takes it.
While they're doing that too, they're running directly at the Maroon defensive line, and they're making our big blokes come up with a lot of tackles. And if you can make blokes like Broman and Hugh and Gavin Jones get up around the 30-35 tackle mark a game, well then it dulls their spark in attack.
So there's 30 minutes remaining. 12 points all it is. Away to Mark Murray. Murray jinks, runs himself, reaches halfway before he was stopped by Wayne Pearce.
Again, we see the ball just being pushed around the paddock. There's no forward movement.
Wally Lewis electing this time to run, but Noel Cleal is there to put him over. That's tackle number 5. Here comes the last. Meninga uses the boot, putting it behind Hetherington. Gary Jack drops back for it, rolling back towards his own try line. Cavill Hugh coming up to meet him. Gets away from Hugh and Canescu. Claimed by Bob Lindner and knocked to ground.
He's running our big fellas all around the paddock. Canescu and Hugh there had to run about 30 yards at full sprint to try and get Gary Jack. Now we see them slow back into the defensive line.
Roy Simmons trying to go himself. Now looking to unload the pass. Can't get it away though. Tackled by Greg Canescu. Back to Folkes. Back to Chris Mortimer. There's the kick by Mortimer. Again for Gary Belcher. Hasn't put a foot wrong tonight, Gary Belcher.
They did a super game and really broke through again there.
Back to Lewis. This is Les Kiss. Kiss tackled right on halfway.
Our big men are walking. Broman's not in position to take the ball. Again, Mark Murray has to take it up. One out from the ruck.
Murray almost through. Again, Noel Cleal was the tackler. Peter Sterling getting slowly to his feet in back play for New South Wales. He's up now. Lewis elects to run, gives it out wide to Gene Miles. Away to Gary Belcher. Belcher's got support on the outside. The pass is knocked to ground. Referee will rule a try, I think, will he? Yes, he does. It's a try. Queensland are in to score. Les Kiss is in. And a fair try it was too. New South Wales made the mistake. Queensland capitalised on it. Ron Willey isn't happy, nor is Les Hobbs, the New South Wales trainer. But New South Wales can only blame themselves for it.
Peter Sterling's the guy at fault there. He wasn't back in the defensive line. He was lazy to get back. He left the hole. Miles put Belcher away. Then we see the New South Wales player knock the header in to knock the ball forward, and Kiss has gone over the top for a fine try.
And you'll find that the reason Peter Sterling was late getting back, he'd been down on the ground injured. He was just getting slowly to his feet. He was still a little bit groggy. He was out of position. And Queensland capitalised on it. There it is, Hetherington knocking the ball down. The crowd don't agree, but that's a fair try. No doubt in the world that's a fair try. Only one player they can blame for the mishap, Brian Hetherington. He was the player that made the mistake. I'm not saying it was his mistake initially, but in the long term, the player who caused the try to be scored was Brian Hetherington.
Hetherington should have tidied the ball up. It's an awful thing, a rugby league ball. It's got ends on it, and you never know where it's going to go.
So Queensland lead by 16 to 12. Meninga's kick waved away. No goal. It's Queensland 16, New South Wales 12, and there's 27 and a half minutes remaining. Off, Queensland put a long ball downfield from Meninga, which Gary Jack was able to run out, and they've got it back now to the halfway mark. Simmons gives a pass which was horribly close to forward, but referee Barry Gomersall, in fact, is going to penalise Queensland for being offside. So the penalty to New South Wales. Penalties are 4-all. Andrew Farrer taking the line kick out towards the Pat Hill stand side of the Sydney Cricket Ground. Finding touch just short of the quarterway. The chance for New South Wales to attack, and big Peter Tunks charges it into the Queensland quarterway. Roy Simmons, the dummy half. On to Wayne Pearce. Gavin Jones was the Queensland tackle. Simmons again to Noel Cleal. Having another good game, Noel Cleal. Wally Lewis over the top to try and make sure he couldn't get the ball away. Ball loose on the ground. Brad Tessman out on the Queensland bench with Peter Jackson, it's interesting to note. So Queensland may make a change soon. Last tackle coming up for New South Wales. Away to Peter Sterling, using the kick, rolling down towards the try line. Gary Belcher takes it, trying to work around Brian Hetherington. He'll play the ball back to Les Kiss. Kiss goes from dummy half. This is the NEC big game, the Winfield State League. Winfield State of Origin clash from the Sydney Cricket Ground, and Queensland lead by 16 to 12. Pass intercepted by New South Wales. Brett Kenny trying to work his way through. Almost getting through. Lewis is there to knock him over with the aid of Cavalhue. Now to Sterling. Away to Noel Cleal. Cleal gets to Broman. Gets his pass back infield to Stephen Folkes. They're just on the Queensland quarterway and looking dangerous. There's no marker. Folkes plays it forward. Makes about another 8 metres before he's stopped by Darryl Broman. He'll play the ball back. Roy Simmons distributes for Peter Sterling, who jinks and goes himself and gives it to Cleal on the fly on the inside. Good tackle again, though, by Gavin Jones. Simmons away up wide from Roach to Gary Jack. Jack put to ground 5 metres out. Last tackle coming up for New South Wales. Peter Sterling, the playmaker, gets it, puts in the little grubber kick. Going back forward is Ian French. He can't take it. It's still loose on the ground. He now dives on it. And Queensland forced to a goal line dropout. The crowd hooting that Peter Sterling was taken out of play by Darryl Broman. To my mind, Darryl Broman, if he wasn't at fault, he was horribly close to it. Here's both Brad Tessman and Peter Jackson come out to the touchline with Ken Ra, but as yet they haven't made any attempt to get their tracksuits off, so perhaps they'll be used later in this half.
New South Wales are just going to bore away here and grind and put enormous pressure on the Maroon defence. And in that last passage of play, some of our big fellas were slow to get back into position. And
this
again,
is Steve Roach
just going straight up the middle again, another just following up a run from Peter Tunks.
And making our Queensland big men tackle. Played back to Simmons. He goes from dummy half again to Noel Cleal. He'll hit it straight up the centre. Now unloads back to Gary Jack. He's 12 metres out from scoring. New South Wales piling on the pressure. Roy Simmons, the dummy half. Away to Peter Sterling. Then it goes wide to Wayne Pearce. Back to Brett Kenny. Kenny trying to sneak through. They're still on the attack, New South Wales. Now the last tackle coming up. Michael O'Connor plays it 12 metres out. They'll work the blind side. Peter Sterling puts up the high ball. Gary Jack going back for it. It's still loose. Queensland eventually come up with it in the in-goal area. Wayne Pearce complaining to referee Barry Gomersall. A couple of Queenslanders still down on the ground. Darryl Broman there has it.
It's Bob Lindner, I think, that's down injured at the moment.
Wally Lewis saying that it's got to be brought out to the quarterway, I think, for the restart. And there's a complaint between Lewis and Steve Roach. Well, the ball was taken in the in-goal. Under the rule, it has to be brought out to the quarterway. Barry Gomersall looking at Bob Lindner. Now it'll bring it out to the quarterway. The crowd don't like it, but that's the rule, and the replay shows that Broman went down with it.
Just wondering whether it was taken
cleanly.
I don't know whether it was taken just before the line and they forced him back. I think that's what the New South Wales players are complaining about. Yeah, they don't like him much down here, Gomersall, and he hasn't revealed himself to them tonight. One of the commentators down here a couple of years ago referred to him as the praying mantis with ears. But the man is certainly a fine referee, and he knows the rules.
Well, New South Wales steal the ball away from Queensland, and quickly they run it from Sterling out wide to Michael O'Connor. O'Connor gets inside Lewis. He's still running. Floats it back across field to Roy Simmons, then on to Brett Kenny. Kenny trying to duck through tackles, puts it on the ground. Hetherington going back for it and will dive on it. In fact, Andrew Farrell will get it. So he'll play the ball. Chris Mortimer from dummy half. Stephen Folkes held on to. They're about 20 metres inside Queensland territory.
Been a big effort from Queensland so far to be in front, to get back into the game and then to hit the front just after half-time. It's going to take a superhuman effort from here. Their legs will be weary, their minds will be foggy, and their hearts will be aching, but if they're made of the right stuff, they can still come up a winner.
Penalty to New South Wales. Queensland deemed to be up inside the 5. Malcolm Meninga, the offender. So New South Wales get the penalty. Now, what are they going to do? Michael O'Connor will have a shot at goal, and quite rightly. They trail by 4 points. But this is one that he should kick. So far, his 3 attempted goals have been all from near touch. And he's missed all 3 of them. And this is in a much better position for him.
You never like to see your football team get penalised, but maybe in that instance that could have been the best thing that happened to Queensland. We've been under a lot of pressure in the last 10 minutes, and whilst New South Wales were allowed to spin the ball away, at least he may miss this kick and it might give us a spell.
It's 16-12 in Queensland's favour at the moment. 19 and a half minutes remaining. The kick by Michael O'Connor is on its way. The crowd go up. The touch judges agree. O'Connor puts over the penalty, and Queensland now lead by 16-14 at the Sydney Cricket Ground.
We've seen our whole...
Up again inside the 5 metres. And this kick finds touch.
That's not a good sign from Queensland's point of view, because one of the main reasons a football player gives away a penalty for a 5-yard infringement is that he's running out of puff. He hasn't got the energy to get back to 5 yards. He's trying to just crib that yard or so, conserve his energy.
New South Wales making a mistake. Andrew Farrell knocks on. So Queensland will have the feed to the scrum as Brad Tessman comes on. So Queensland make a change. Tessman is going to replace Gavin Jones in the Queensland lineup. And that surprises me a little, unless Gavin Jones is carrying some sort of an injury. He doesn't look to, and I must admit I'm surprised a little by that.
That does surprise me. Surprises me a lot. Gavin Jones has been one of the few forwards we've had that has busted the line on 2 occasions. Unfortunately, one pass was intercepted, and his work rate in defence has been heavy. And there's a few other players out there that deserve to be off before Gavin Jones.
Differential penalty to New South Wales. So Andrew Farrell will kick for touch, and New South Wales will keep the pressure on, and Queensland have been under immense pressure during the last 15 minutes of this half. The penalties in the second half are going to New South Wales by 5-1. So they're inside the quarterway of Queensland again, the Blues. Tackled is Peter Tunks. He'll play it back to Roy Simmons. Simmons gives it away on the blind side to Wayne Pearce. Greg Kinescu goes in for the tackle. Simmons back again to Noel Cleal, coming off the wing and charging it infield. Tackled by Darryl Broman and Wally Lewis.
Watch for Gary Jack off Brett Kenny.
Away to Kenny, looking for Jack running off him. Mark Murray, though, wrapped up Brett Kenny with a good ball and all tackle. Back to Simmons, away again to Sterling. Now it goes to Gary Jack. A pass back in field for Michael O'Connor, who has a big opening to run into. He slipped away from Greg Kinescu. Lewis came over the top, missed him. Brad Tessman got hold of him, though. Last tackle coming up for New South Wales. They're 12 metres out in centre field. Simmons gives it away to Sterling. Sterling elects to run it, gives it to Brett Kenny. He's over the line. Yes, he's in. That's a fine try. The Parramatta connection. Queensland expecting the kick from Peter Sterling. But the little maestro elected to run it. Brett Kenny knew exactly what he was going to do. Took the pass off him, and New South Wales are back in front by 18-16, and a fairly easy attempted conversion to come.
And the crowd's absolutely gone berserk, and what super play there from Sterling and Kenny, the whiz kids from Parramatta. They were electing Sterling to kick. You can see he just drifts across the line. He draws in 2 of our defenders. Darryl Broman wasn't equal to the task. He didn't come in and try and tidy up the hole, and you can't give Brett Kenny 1 or 2 yard space to run in.
So a top try by New South Wales. Lovely work by Peter Sterling. Brett Kenny reading his halfback like a book. So it's 18 points to 16. New South Wales in front, and Michael O'Connor with the chance to make it 20 to 16. 14 and a half minutes remaining. And Michael O'Connor takes plenty of time about this kick. And misses it. Well, that might be a let-off for Queensland. O'Connor misses a sitter, and New South Wales lead in the State of Origin clash by 18 points to 16. 1 out of 5. 18 to 16, New South Wales lead. This is the NEC big game, the Winfield State of Origin clash. You're seeing it live from the Sydney Cricket Ground with 13 and a half minutes remaining. Gary Belcher on his own quarterway, confronted by Michael O'Connor. He'll play it back to Dale Shearer. Shearer away from dummy half, trying to push away from Chris Mortimer. But Mortimer's a very tough customer. And over the top to help Chris Mortimer comes Brett Kenny.
He's one of the unsung heroes of the New South Wales side, Mortimer. He mightn't be the quickest and flashiest centre in the business, but there's very few players that enjoy playing against him. He's hard and he's mean and he just loves to win.
Meninga puts it downfield for Gary Jack. He got a bad bounce. He'll have to chase it back inside his own quarterway. Bobby Lindner coming down to try and get him. Shepherding him across field. Eventually put to ground in a good tackle by Brad Tessman. Now to Brian Hetherington. Slipped away from Darryl Broman. He was slowed down enough for Tessman again to come in and complete the tackle.
Well, Wayne Bennett's got to seriously think about his last replacement here. He's got Peter Jackson on the sideline. One thing you can probably think about doing, it might seem a little bit radical, but we've got to be able to come up with some busts in the middle because the defence out wide's fairly strong. He could probably even move Gene Miles to the second row. It's worked in Brisbane club football before, and he's a big, strong man. He can stand and offload exactly like New South Wales are doing now.
Steve Folkes grabbed by Gene Miles and thrown to ground Rodeo fashion. Last tackle coming up for the Blues. They're 10 metres short of halfway. Sterling gets his pass back to Mortimer. Mortimer uses the kick. Gary Belcher dropping back to get it. Just inside his own quarterway is where he takes it. New South Wales gave him 5 metres and that's all. And that's all they have to give him, but by golly, they pushed it right to the very centimetre, I think, on that occasion.
So our forwards are starting to walk. They've kicked the ball back. We've only got one forward back there, Ian French, to run the ball. They've had to work very hard during this game. I'd be inclined to move Miles to the second row. You've got a good footballer in Peter Jackson that can fill the hole in the centre. And Miles is just the bloke that can maybe crack that tough forward defence of the Blues.
The New South Wales crowd start to shout for the Blues as Wally Lewis puts up the kick. Waiting for it is Andrew Farah. Takes it this time. Pushes away from the attempted tackle of Lindner. Gets away from Miles. Gets to Lewis. Tries to go over the top of Wally Lewis. Good run by Andrew Farah. That brings applause from the crowd, and quite deservedly. Up the centre again. Goes big Steve Roach and made a bust. Gets a lovely pass away to Noel Cleal. Cleal will go in and score. That could be the ball game for New South Wales. Big Steve Roach with a lovely run, but I think you can really put that down to that superb run by Andrew Farah on the tackle before. New South Wales lead by 22 points to 16. Noel Cleal, the try scorer, and that could be the one to really wrap up the State of Origin series for the Blues this year.
That could be just about the end of Cavalier's representative career too. That's the problem with our forward plays. We just haven't got the defensive workers. There's no Fulham Smith, no Vorton and so on in there. You see there Cavalier going high on Roach, and Roach just shrugged him aside like a rag doll. And it's just not up to the standard in this class of football.
So 22 points to 16 it is, as big Crusher Cleal scores a try, and isn't he delighted, the boy from Warrielda.
What we've got to understand about rugby league, John, is that the game, you don't win them in 5 minutes. You win them after grafting long and hard, and that's exactly what the big New South Wales fellas have been prepared to do. People sometimes accuse you of being negative when you play football that way, but if you've got a big, strong pack, you must use them. Eventually, it'll take its toll.
Michael O'Connor from right in front. New South Wales have made a change. Peter Tunks has gone off. Gillespie has come on. 24-16 it is as Michael O'Connor converts.
That's just about the ball game. Bennett's got to do something here, and we're just not controlling it. We're not getting enough of the ball to use it out in the back line. He's got to put Miles to second row and bring Jackson in the centre.
And that's a good replacement by New South Wales. They're in front now, and they send on the noted defender, David Gillespie. So New South Wales just out from their own quarterway as Gillespie plays it. Ryan Hetherington tackled by Greg Kinescu.
It's a first-class rugby league side, the Blues. They've played with a lot of discipline. They've stuck to their game plan, even when they got behind just after half-time. There was no panic football about them. They just kept taking the ball off the edge of the ruck in the middle of the ruck. Here we see him again, being allowed to stand in a tackle. Our blokes are shot ducks at the moment. Their legs are gone. We've got nothing left.
Back to Mortimer.
That's not having a go at their character at all. They'll try their hearts out as they have done all the time. They're certainly good footballers, but we haven't had the hard football required for this sort of competition.
Dale Shearer getting it back towards halfway. New South Wales lead with about 8.5 minutes remaining by 24 points to 16. It was 22-16 full-time in Brisbane. It's 24-16 now to the Blues. Greg Kinescu tackled. Plays it back to Wally Lewis. Then away to Darryl Broman. On to Mark Murray. Murray gets away from the attempted tackle of Wayne Pearce, but Noel Cleal was there to take him. Back to Broman. Lewis gives his pass for Bob Lindner. Lindner gets away from Roach, who comes at him a second time with Stephen Folks. Darryl Broman again, using the little chip over the top for Lewis to chase, but well taken, Gary Jack. Dives brilliantly to take that. Lovely take by the New South Wales and Australian fullback. Andrew Farah. Outside his own quarterway. David Gillespie. Simply going from dummy half. Cavalier the tackler. Simmons gives it away to Steve Roach. Ball to be played back to Simmons. They'll use the kick. Chris Mortimer stands deep, drives it away downfield for Gary Belcher. Belcher just out from his own quarterway. Hit in a very good tackle by David Gillespie. Meninga trying to get past Peter Sterling. Wayne Pearce is there as well. Slips it away to Brad Tessman. Again, Gillespie goes in low. Back to Meninga. There's Wayne Bennett, a worried-looking Queensland coach at the moment. Big Gene Miles. Looked for a moment as if he was going to be through, but over the top came Noel Cleal, who's had a great game. Big crusher Cleal. Darryl Broman. Back to Kinescu. Out wide to Lewis. Then on to Cavalier. Fires a pass away to Les Kiss, but the pass went forward. Barry Gomersall rules the pass to have gone forward, so he'll put a scrum down right on halfway. Here it is again on the NEC replay. And I think that was all right.
Well, I think there was probably one in the game before that was probably half a metre forward, and he's let it go for a Queensland try. He's pulled that one up.
Well, that perhaps will square it up. There was doubt about the very first try for Queensland, which was scored by Ian French. Doubt about the Wally Lewis pass, but that one looked okay, and that would have been a try. So perhaps that squares it up.
Our blokes certainly haven't given up. They're showing a lot of character, and they're a good football side too. And if we can come up with a break here and some good backup play, it might produce a try. But we've got to start going forward first.
Played back to Greg Kinescu. Time ticking away. There's 5.5 minutes left. Meninga floats it out wide for Gene Miles. Miles gets his pass back in field. It went to Dale Shearer. Last tackle coming up. Wally Lewis standing first man off the ruck. Takes it. Uses the little kick over the top. Mark Murray going through to chase, but Roy Simmons takes it well and then is driven into the ground by Murray. 24-16, New South Wales in front. David Gillespie going up the blind side.
Unless something miraculous happens here, Macca, we can't win this game of football. And I think it's probably about time now that from our top administrators down, we've got to realise the fact that with what's this 5 out of 6 we've lost in a row now, and You know, maybe at time every champion's got to pause for a moment and try and clear his ears of some of the thunderous applause he's had over the years, and maybe it's time for the cotton buds of humility to come out, mate, and clean the ears out and start to listen and really find out what's the root problem.
Gary Belcher put to ground in a good tackle by Brett Kenny. Meninga going from dummy half, got away from Kenny. Gets his pass back to Tessman. He keeps it alive for Bob Lindner. Lindner taken by Noel Cleal. Held on to right on the halfway mark. 4 minutes left, 24-16. New South Wales lead. And seemingly they have the State of Origin series in their keeping for 1986. Away to Murray, then to Lewis. Misses out French to give it to Meninga. Gary Belcher comes around to take the pass, then fires it away to Les Kiss. Kiss well tackled by Peter Sterling across in cover defence. Sterling puts him into touch. Well done, Sterling. Another good game tonight by the Parramatta halfback.
Yes, he's been everywhere, Sterling. He's instrumental in a couple of their tries. He's read play well. He's directed it around the paddock. His kicking game's been superb when he's been called upon. He's set up the try for Brett Kenny. He's driven his forwards on hard. He's called them to take the ball up the middle of the ruck, position himself in the middle of the field and give himself numbers on either side of the paddock, and then he's elected to go the right way. But a superb performance from him.
Wayne Pearce, a few metres short of halfway, plays it to Simmons, then to Cleal. And the big man gets over the halfway mark. He's having a ball, big Noel Cleal. He's loving every minute of it.
They're just starting to stand at will in the tackles now, New South Wales.
Stephen Folkes to play it. Back it goes to Simmons. Across field for Peter Sterling. Using the little kick out towards the touchline. He knows the Sydney cricket ground so well, Peter Sterling. He's been here on so many occasions in big games, such as grand finals for Parramatta. And makes no mistake about that one. So this scrum, even though Queensland have the feed to it, is a pressure one for the Maroons. It's only 10 metres out from their own line. Mark Murray wins the scrum. Looking to get into the open, gets it away to Gary Belcher. Ooh, badly missed by Andrew Farrer. He's not a winger. On it goes to Dale Shearer. Shearer's missed by Gary Jack. Still going. Chris Mortimer will try and shepherd him over towards the touchline. Can't do so. He goes in to score. It's all too late. One thing that try did show, though, Andrew Farrer knows very little about playing on the wing. But it's come too late for Queensland, but full marks to the Maroons. They haven't thrown in the towel. They know that they're beaten. They can't possibly catch up. But they haven't thrown it away. And a good try by Dale Shearer. Here it is on the NEC replay.
And another thing that did show, too, that Gary Jack certainly, he's no lay-down misère for the fullback spot in the test side on tonight's performance. Gary Belcher's been outstanding. When they've kicked the ball to him, he's fielded it well. You see him trail Mark Murray up there and make a superb break.
And there's an interesting thing. Queensland aren't going to kick for goal. They don't want to waste the time. It's 24 points to 20. They want to score another try, and New South Wales, well, there's no quick kickoffs this time. They take their time about it. So that's an interesting one. No attempted conversion. They know that they have to score another try to win. Michael O'Connor will drive it deep. There's a minute and 27 seconds remaining. New South Wales lead by 24 to 20. Gary Belcher tackled on his own quarterway. Well, can Queensland produce a miracle?
Let's hope they can.
Wally Lewis, he's the man that has to do it. On it goes again to Dale Shearer. Noel Cleal's there to try and get him. He throws a desperation pass. He had to try and do it. You can't blame him for that. They had to try and keep the ball alive, and New South Wales have it, and they'll simply use up time now, the Blues. Andrew Farrer, 12 metres inside Queensland territory, is tackled. We're inside the last minute of the Winfield State of Origin clash from Sydney. David Gillespie put to ground by Darryl Broman. Played back to Peter Sterling. Sterling working to the blind side. Last tackle coming up for New South Wales. They'll put it in the air. Gillespie gives it away for Stephen Folkes. Back to Greg Canescu. Ruled to have knocked it on. So this scrum will just have time to set, and that's all. But New South Wales have the feed to the scrum, and there's the clock counting down at 16 seconds remaining.
Listen to the New South Wales supporters. They know they've got it won. They're just counting it down. But full credit to Queensland. have come back very strongly.
Well, Queensland have it. The hooter goes. Lewis puts it in the air. Kenny goes back for it. Takes it safely, Brett Kenny. Falls to ground. Realises that could have been a voluntary tackle. Gets up and goes again. Barry Gomersall calls a halt. New South Wales have won. Congratulations to their coach, Ron Willey. To their captain, Wayne Pearce. One of the nicest blokes in the game of rugby league, Wayne Pearce. And congratulations to the Blues on a fine win tonight by 24 points to 20. And for wrapping up the series, winning the first 2 games. But full marks to Wally Lewis and his Queenslanders. They may not have won the game, but I think they've won the hearts of the Sydney crowd. A lot of them may not admit it, but they'll applaud Queensland for not throwing in the towel, for showing great heart. And the New South Wales crowd will realise that Queensland were under pressure in this game. When you realise that we've virtually had a full State of Origin pack taken away from us this year because of injury. Dave Brown, Greg Dowling, Brian Niebling, Wally Fullerton-Smith and Paul Vaughton. And Niebling pulling out late today. They know that Queensland was under pressure, and they'll applaud Queensland for a tremendous effort, a fighting effort tonight, and another great game. And what a series the State of Origin is. New South Wales win by 24 to 20. They deserve to win, but the Queenslanders, well, they can hold their heads high as they make their way off the Sydney Cricket Ground for a fine effort. 24 to 20. We'll be back to sum up in just a moment. Winning the game, but I think John Barber, Queensland able to hold their heads high.
Oh, certainly, Macca. Our boys can be proud of their effort. We've got a problem in our structure of our local competition, really, to be able to compete at this level, and we've really got to look at that. But New South Wales just grafted away. They've been expertly drilled by Coach Ron Willey. Their big men just kept going up the middle off the edge of the ruck. Then when that job was done, Sterling just moved the ball wide. When they got behind, I think it was 14-12, they didn't panic. They stuck to their game plan, and that's exactly what won the game for them.
And remembering, of course, they came from 8-0 down, so it was a good effort. 24 to 20 they won for New South Wales. Tries by O'Connor, Farah, Kenny, Pearce and Cleal, and O'Connor landed 2 from 6. For Queensland, their try scorers were French, Lindner, Kiss and Shearer, and Meninga landed 2 out of 4. The scrums all went with the feed to New South Wales by 6 to 5. The penalties 7-4 to New South Wales. But perhaps the telling statistic was that Queensland missed in the tackles 20 tackles. New South Wales missed 12, and that probably in the end was the name of the game. 24 to 20. New South Wales won another great game here in Sydney. Let's look now at the highlights of the match. This is Lewis. Elects to run, gets his pass away, given brilliantly back inside. They'll go in and score. Ian French is over underneath the post. To the boos of the New South Wales crowd, but it was set up by Wally Lewis. And Lewis tonight is showing his critics that he can run the football, and here it is on the NEC replay. Lewis steps, runs, catches them off guard, gets his pass away to Meninga. Inside it goes to Ian French, who loves to score a try, and French is in underneath the post, and Queensland lead by 6-0. It should be 8-0 in a moment, and that's just the start the Maroons wanted.
Put that down to Wally Lewis. Wally, it's one of the few occasions this season where Wally's elected to run the ball. This is what made him a great player in 83 and 84. He can break the first line. He's offloaded. The crowd are booing about the replay on the big scoreboard.
Andrew Farrer and Brian Hetherington, both specialist centres, been picked on the wing as Stephen Folkes makes a bust. He's running hard. Stephen Folkes getting towards the line. He's only 2 metres out where he was met by the Queensland defence. Gary Belcher got him. Great run by Steve Folkes. Sterling gives it away to Roy Simmons. Simmons pops it up. Trying to go through is Wayne Pearce, then away to Peter Tunks. Tunks almost over, gets it away again to Roy Simmons. He can't get it down. He's a half a metre out. New South Wales right on the Queensland line. Simmons to play the ball. Dummy half will be Noel Cleal. Back to Cleal. He gets it away to Sterling. Quickly on to Brett Kenny. Queensland a thin out wide. Away it goes from O'Connor onto Andrew Farrer. He'll go in and score. That's a good New South Wales try. Started initially by a fine run by Stephen Folkes and finished by his Canterbury teammate Andrew Farrer in the corner. So it's 8 points to 4 with the attempted conversion to come.
Classical backline football here. The passing's crisp and long and sharp. It's always put in front of the man. Dale Shearer, can't blame him for that. He was left unattended out there by his defensive teammates. But that all goes back to bad miss-tackling on the quarter line from Cavalier, Darryl Brahman and Greg Kinescu to allow folks to virtually just walk out of a tackle. And then Queensland were desperate. They came up with 2 super tackles right on their own line, but then they were stretched right along the left-hand side of the paddock, and we just didn't have the numbers.
Last tackle coming up for New South Wales. They're almost up to the Queensland quarterway. Played back to Simmons. They'll work the blind to Peter Sterling. Then on to Brett Kenny going through a gap. He gets to Belcher, fires it away, and they're in to score. Great work by New South Wales. Michael O'Connor going in to score the try. So New South Wales hit back with two very quick tries, and excellent work this. Brett Kenny clamping on the speed, getting away from Gavin Jones, on to Michael O'Connor, who dives over for a good New South Wales try, and the Blues hit back to make it 8 points all.
And the lead-up work was caused by the big forwards going up the middle, and then we saw Wally Lewis at marker and Gene Miles at first defender off the ruck. Peter Sterling spotted it. You see him here, he throws a long cut-out pass. Brett Kenny hits the hole perfectly, and Lewis and Miles aren't there in defence. They're around the middle of the ruck.
Holding a short pass up for Wayne Pearce. Meninga slipped and went down in back play inside to Hetherington, then away to Roach. This is looking dangerous. Roach gets his pass away once more, out through Mortimer, then away to Wayne Pearce going for the corner. He's in. New South Wales are in for try number 3. And they hit the front for the first time of the match. Put it in the air, no doubt. Back to Canescu, then away to Darryl Broman. Broman with a little chip across the face of goal. New South Wales going up for it. It's loose. It's a try. Queensland are in. That's the try they wanted. Bobby Lindy will find who scored the try. The break, and here it is on the NEC replay.
It's a perfect little chip kick here from Broman. Very skillful footballer. Puts it just in behind the try line. There's a mad scramble for possession. Linda's come up with the ball, and Gomer's in perfect position.
Lewis elects to run, gives it out wide to Gene Miles, away to Gary Belcher. Belcher's got support on the outside. The pass is knocked to ground. Referee will rule a try, I think, will he? Yes, he does. It's a try. Queensland are in to score. Les Kiss is in. And a fair try it was too. New South Wales made the mistake. Queensland capitalised on it. Ron Willey isn't happy, nor is Les Hobbs, the New South Wales trainer. But New South Wales can only blame themselves for it.
Peter Sterling's the guy at fault there. He wasn't back in the defensive line. He was lazy to get back. He left the hole. Miles put Belcher away. Here we see the New South Wales player knock the header in and knock the ball forward, and Kiss has gone over the top for a fine try.
And you'll find that the reason Peter Sterling was late getting back, he'd been down on the ground injured. He was just getting slowly to his feet. He was still a little bit groggy. He was out of position. And Queensland capitalised on it. There it is, Hetherington knocking the ball down. The crowd don't agree, but that's a fair try. No doubt in the world that's a fair try. Last tackle coming up for New South Wales. They're 12 metres out in centre field. Simmons gives it away to Sterling. Sterling elects to run it, gives it to Brett Kenny. He's over the line. Yes, he's in. That's a fine try. The Parramatta connection. Queensland expecting the kick from Peter Sterling. But the little maestro elected to run it. Brett Kenny knew exactly what he was going to do. Took the pass off him, and New South Wales are back in front by 18-16, and a fairly easy attempted conversion to come.
And the crowd's absolutely gone berserk, and what super play there from Sterling and Kenny, the whiz kids from Parramatta. They were electing Sterling to kick. You can see he just drifts across the line. He draws in two of our defenders. Darryl Broman wasn't equal to the task. He didn't come in and try and tidy up the hole, and you can't give Brett Kenny 1 or 2 yard space to run in.
Up the centre again. Goes big Steve Roach and made a bust. Gets a lovely pass away to Noel Cleal. Cleal will go in and score. That could be the ball game for New South Wales. Big Steve Roach with a lovely run. But I think you can really put that down to that superb run by Andrew Farrer on the tackle before. New South Wales lead by 22 points to 16. Noel Cleal, the try scorer, and that could be the one to really wrap up the State of Origin series for the Blues this year.
That could be just about the end of Cavalier's representative career too. That's the problem with our forward plays. We just haven't got the defensive workers. There's no Fulton Smith, no Vorton and so on in there. You see there Cavalier going high on Roach, and Roach just shrugged him aside like a rag doll. And it's just not up to the standard in this class of football.
So 22 points to 16 it is, as big Crusher Cleal scores a try, and isn't he delighted, the boy from Warrielda.
What we've got to understand about rugby league, John, is that the game, you know, you don't win them in 5 minutes. You win them after grafting long and hard, and that's exactly what the big New South Wales fellas have been prepared to do.
Looking to get into the open, gets it away to Gary Belcher. Ooh, badly missed by Andrew Farrer. He's not a winger. On it goes to Dale Shearer. Shearer's missed by Gary Jack. Still going. Chris Mortimer will try and shepherd him over towards the touchline. Can't do so. He goes in to score. It's all too late. One thing that try did show, though, Andrew Farrer knows very little about playing on the wing. But it's come too late for Queensland, but full marks to the Maroons. They haven't thrown in the towel. They know that they're beaten. They can't possibly catch up. But they haven't thrown it away. And a good try by Dale Shearer. Here it is on the NEC replay.
And another thing that did show, too, that Gary Jack certainly, he's no lay-down misère for the fullback spot in the test side on tonight's performance. Gary Belcher's been outstanding. When they've kicked the ball to him, he's fielded it well. You see him trail Mark Murray up there and make a superb break.
And there's an interesting thing. Queensland aren't going to kick for goal. They don't want to waste the time. It's 24 points to 20. They want to score another try, and New South Wales, well, there's no quick kickoffs this time. They take their time about it. Yes, another fine game. In fact, I'm starting to think I'm somewhat of a jinx. My last 4 visits to the Sydney Cricket Ground have been for 2 Sheffield Shield finals and 2 State of Origin matches. They've all been great games, and Queensland have just been pipped in all of them. But it was a record crowd tonight for State of Origin, 40,707, and they loved every minute of it. We'll be back after this break to name our man of the match.
Man of the match.
And our NEC man of the match takes away $750, and we've given our award tonight to Noel Cleal. Cleal went into this State of Origin series under somewhat of a cloud because he hadn't really shone out in State of Origin football. Perhaps because Queensland didn't have Wally Fullerton-Smith may have been the reason. But to his credit, he played so well in Brisbane. Noel Cleal takes away $750 tonight as our man of the match. Great game from him, John Barber.
He had an excellent game, and he thoroughly deserved the award.
Now, the press writers of Queensland and New South Wales have picked their Winfield man of the match, and they've gone for the New South Wales halfback Peter Sterling, who had an outstanding game. He takes away the $1,000 as the Winfield man of the match. Quickly, John Barber, what about changes for the Queensland side and the players from Queensland who did impress you tonight?
Well, Gary Belcher I thought was outstanding, and as I said in the call, John, if Gary Jack, he shouldn't have any he shouldn't be a lay-down misère for the fullback job. I was impressed with him. Les Kiss, I thought, made a good introduction to first-class football, but our real problem's in the forward pack, and our selectors have got to look long and hard and come up with a couple of blokes there that have got the necessary stuff in them, and that's to go the 80 minutes and keep knocking those big New South Wales fellas over.
Well, last year Queensland lost the first 2 games and hit back to win the third to recover some lost pride. Hopefully they'll be able to do it this year. The third State of Origin game is at Lang Park on Tuesday, the 1st of July. We look forward to having your company then for our telecast of the last of the Winfield State of Origin matches for this year. The full-time score tonight, New South Wales defeating Queensland by 24-20. The Blues have retained their title as the State of Origin champions for another year. On behalf of John Barber, I'm John McCoy, trusting you've enjoyed our telecast this evening and bidding you good night from the Sydney Cricket Ground.